Okay,
For the third time.
what?
I said for the third time.
Alright, so, tried out some new equipment and we'll try it tomorrow and see how it goes. Alright, so we're gonna talk sexual, sin and soul ties. Alright, so like we said earlier, the battle is in your mind. Because the battle is in your mind, you have to fight, abstain from any type of sexual sin. Sexual sin always hurts the person, and if the person enjoys the sexual sin, then it's going to hurt somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Wait.
No, not me.
It's going to hurt somebody else. If it doesn't hurt somebody else, then there's going to be some underlying diseases that come with the sexual sin. Regardless, the sexual sin is going to hurt somebody. Now, this tree of sexual sin, it always starts, there's fornication at the bottom. The roots are fornication and lust. And there's power. Power comes with the rape. From the sexual sin, it leads up to nudity, child abuse, pornography, um, pornography, AIDS, STDs, abortions, promiscuity, homosexuality, fantasy, condemnation, punishment, right? So then you have Father's will. Father's will in your life is to partake from the tree of life. Okay? That's Father taking life. The other is Satan. Under Satan, you have sin, darkness, pride, envy, hate. Father, light, peace, joy, love. Let's get some statistics on pornography. Every second, $3,075.64 is spent on pornography.
Mm.
Every second. Every second, over 28,000 people are viewing pornography on the internet. Every second. Every second, 372 internet users are typing adult search terms in search engines. That means they're going to Google, Bing, and they're typing in some type of pornography website. Every 39 minutes, a new porn video is being created in the U.S. Every 39 minutes. That's ridiculous. I mean, all these stats are ridiculous, but we got more ridiculous stats for you. This is crazy, but this is Satan. And this is how Satan operates. The internet. There are 4.2 million porn websites. And that takes up 12% of the internet. 4.2 million pornographic websites. With the pages, there are 420 million pornographic pages on the internet.
Mm.
Now, these statistics that I'm pulling are from 2010.
So you know it has grown.
It has grown,
Mm.
right? 68 million pornographic searches. 68 million. Emails, pornographic emails, 2.5 billion. Not million, billion pornographic emails go out a year. internet people who view porn, 42%. That number's probably a little low. People who don't even search the internet, 34% get exposed to some type of sexual material. You're on your phone and you're doing research on dentistry. And all of a sudden a woman or a man pops up with boobs and, you know, body parts. 34%. That's crazy. Daily pornographic emails, 4.5 users. The average. Children. Children are exposed to pornography as early as 11 years old. I'm surprised at that one. I thought it'd be younger. The largest consumer of porn is people from the age of 35 to 49. 15 to 17-year-olds are exposed to multiple hardcore porn websites, right? Why are we going through all of this? Because sexual sin, and we're going to see what the Bible says about sexual sin, and understand something. There's scriptures in the Bible, and what is the first thing that is said when it comes to sin? We're going to go Ecclesiasticus from the Apocrypha, Ecclesiasticus 23. 80% of 8 to 16-year-olds view porn. And 90% of them are doing it while they're supposed to be doing their homework. 7 to 17-year-olds would freely give out their home address on websites. Right? That's how come To Catch a Predator was so big.
I remember that show.
Because I forgot what's the name of the group, but that group would know that children would put their address on the internet, and you have these perverted men, and I think they even had one episode where they had a woman that would come to have sex with minors, right? 14% of children's character names are linked to thousands of pornographic websites, like Pokemon, and I don't know what Action Man is, right? But Pokemon, there's hidden links to porn on children websites. It's crazy. Ecclesiasticus 23:6.
Read. Ecclesiasticus chapter 23 verse 6. Let not the greediness of the belly nor lust of the flesh take hold of me.
Yes.
And give not over me thy servant into an impudent mind.
Impudent means perverted. Let not the greediness of the belly of flesh, belly or lust. Lust always starts here. It always starts here with lust. And then it takes hold of you. That means your whole body is consumed with it. He says, give not over me thy servant to an imputed mind. Don't let me get a sexual perverted mind. Right? If you have questions, feel free to put your questions on the chat. We have a lot of stuff that we're going to go over tonight. We're going to deal with sexual sins. From the sexual sin, there's always a soul tie. So we're going to go from the sexual sins and we're going to merge it, and it's going to go into the soul tie.
I want to say as well, because we want to talk about the spiritual side of it as well. So we're going to get really deep into
Yeah, we are.
this teaching. So we're going to try to hit it from all areas.
Yeah, we're going to go physical and spiritual.
But let me say this as well. It's not like Shepherd was just saying that, with porn, But we have to know also is that you can get a lustful spirit from a commercial as well. A lot of these commercials are sexual, and you could be watching a commercial, and if it's something sexual in it, because, well, let's just say for a second, these, like he said, it's perversion of the mind, and then, and we always say it's a 1-2 thing. So we know that it's the perversion, it's the shot of the mind, and then when you receive it, and you actually do it, then that spirit goes into where? It goes into
The bowels.
it goes into the private, into the genitals.
Mhm.
So that's what you're dealing with as well. So that perversion spirit in your mind, it tells you to do something, you do it, and then from the actual sin, you get the spirit in your, whether it's the anal, the penis, or the vagina, whatever, even in the breast, or the mouth, oral sex, even in the mouth. So we're going to talk about all that, and we're going to talk about how the spirit can mess with your finances, everything. So we're going to, all praises to the Most High, we're going to give you every area of the spirit
Yeah.
and the soul tie.
All right, so the purpose of sex, right? This particular chart talks about Christians, right? To express intimacy between two or more people. 60% of Christians do it. 69% of people who don't have faith do it. To connect with another person in an enjoyable way. 36% of Christians do it. 60% of people who don't have faith do it. To satisfy a biological need, not including reproduction. That means you just gotta do it. 32% of Christians do it. 33% of people who have no faith. To unite two adults of any gender in marriage, right? 15% Christians of Christians, and 23% of people who have no faith. That, it should be 0. But you know what? They're Christians. To reproduce and have children. 66% of Christians practice it. 61% of people who don't believe practice it. To unite a man and a woman in marriage. 56% Christians, 25% of people who have no faith. The 56 for Christians, that's pretty bad, because that should be a 100%. For self-expression and personal fulfillment, 26% of Christians, 46% of people with no faith, and people who just don't know the purpose of sex. 1% Christian, 14% of people with no faith, right? So views on traditional sexual experiences. Yeah, let's skip that one.
Yes, 2 comments from you.
Yeah. So views on traditional sexual experiences, right? To have a mutual sex partner. 53% of Christians do it. People with no faith, 36%. To have a healthy view on sex, 45% of Christians, and people with no faith, 27%. Let's skip over that one too. Let's go Wisdom of Solomon 14:12. Yes.
So ARW said, it's true because I can't even go to my email, but even sometimes the internet without something popping up, someone trying to sell me sex, a blank hotline for sex in your neighborhood. It said, Elder, it is so true. It is absolutely crazy. People are sex crazy. The most purest thing, the Most High made his turned into complete evil the way man has it.
Right. Like when I got here to New York, I was on, the Monsters and Career Builder to look for employment. And in my email, all you get is sexual things in the email.
when I was on the email today, I saw it.
And so you get all kinds of sexual stuff coming in, and you're like, I'm looking for a job, and you get all this stuff that's coming in your email. You have to go on the internet to, look for a job, use different sites. If you're sleepy, I would sometimes advise you to stand up, because it's not going to happen tonight. And the thing of it is that you go on different sites to look for a job or to find a recipe. And underlying those websites it's porn. Wisdom of Solomon 14:12.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 12. For the devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication.
The devising of idols was the beginning of spiritual fornication. Read.
And the invention of them, the corruption of life.
The ones who invented them are the corruption of life. Right? The corruption of life. Spiritual fornication. We're going to deal with this lesson, we're going to deal a lot with the physical fornication, but we're also going to deal with the spiritual fornication as well. All fornication leads to corruption of life. And we're going to understand the difference between fornication and adultery, because it's different. You must avoid the traps that the demons are placing for you. You must avoid it, because they will not only trap you, once they trap you and once they have you entangled, they're not going to let you go easy. Sexual demons are one of the toughest ones to break free from, because they 100% deal with the flesh, deal with emotions. You feeling bad about something, here they come. You feel good about something, here they come. It doesn't matter whether you feel good, it doesn't matter whether you feel bad. They don't care on what emotion you deal with, as long as you deal with an emotion. And they will run with it. But see, the Bible tells us not only how to identify it, how to stop it, but also the Bible tells us what happens if you continue to let it operate. Okay? Pastors, 50% of pastors struggle with pornography. That's kind of low. I think that stat should be a little higher. In fact, it should be a lot higher. Right? 20% of Christian women struggle with pornography. Of course, that one is higher. Right? Because Christians aren't teaching you anything anyway. Let's talk about 4 types of sexual sin. We're going to go to Romans 6 and 19. 4 types of sexual sin. We're going to read Romans 6 and 19. Okay? Let's read it.
Romans chapter 6, verse 19. I speak after the manner of men, because of the infirmity of your flesh, for as ye have yielded your members servants to uncleanness and to iniquity unto iniquity, even so now yield your members servants to righteousness unto holiness.
So Paul is saying that you are allowing these spirits, you're allowing them, and you're yielding your members up to these unclean spirits. So now, because now you're dealing in the truth, how about yielding your members to righteousness? You sit up here and you allow these evil spirits to come upon you. You allow these evil spirits to come in you, and you deal with this uncleanliness. Paul is saying now you're dealing with this iniquity, but right now, why don't you deal with righteousness? Why don't you yield your members up to righteousness? First sexual sin we're going to talk about is adultery. Right? Adultery. Adultery is voluntarily, and note it's voluntarily, right? Rape would not be considered adultery. Rape would be considered fornication. Okay? Voluntarily sexual intercourse between a married person and a person who is not their spouse. It's a very simple definition when it comes to adultery. Some of the synonyms for adultery: unfaithfulness, infidelity, disloyalty, extramarital sex, extramarital relationships outside of the marriage. A woman should not have, if they're married, they should not have a man as a friend. That is an extramarital relationship. You are committing adultery. Even if you've never had sex with the person, you're committing adultery. A man should not have a female best friend that is married. That is adultery.
Well, I have never ever seen where a man and a woman was friends and nothing ever happened between them in the first place.
Right.
It may be somewhere out there, but if it is, it's rare.
Right. Yes, it is. Now, a woman can have a woman, it's not that rare that a woman has a man as a best friend, because that man thinks his name is Twan,
He's gay, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah.
right? So that's not too uncommon. The husband is not threatened because the wife is hanging out with Twain or Twan or whatever they want to call himself, right?
Confusion, that's right.
But then the woman better watch out, because Twan will come home, husband will be there.
And try to take your husband.
Right. All right, let's talk adultery. Fornication. Fornication is sexual intercourse between people not married to each other. That's fornication. So if you have two single people and they have sex, that's fornication. If you have a male and a male, that's fornication. It's not adultery. If you have a woman and a woman, that's fornication. A man and an animal, that's fornication.
What's some bestiality?
That's fornication.
Oh, because fornication also is
Any sexual sin outside of the marriage is fornication.
when you're not.
Masturbation is fornication. Watching porn is fornication. Any type of sexual sin is fornication.
When you're
Right?
not married.
When you're not married.
Okay.
Correct. Okay? Uncleanness.
You have a question here.
Yes.
What's cuckoldry?
Who?
Cuckoldry.
What that is the best way to put that is like a dominating spouse. A dominating spouse who dominates one, who, let's say a woman dominates the man. And the woman brings home her boyfriend, the husband is washing dishes. That's the best way to put it. Or you have a man who dominates the woman and brings his girlfriend home while his wife is cooking them dinner. That's the best way to put it. Okay? Uncleanliness, right? That's another sexual sin. Uncleanliness is morally or spiritually impure. You're infected with some type of supernatural contagion. Okay? Dirty, filthy, nastiness, right? That's uncleanliness.
Like a falling spirit?
Uh,
Like that type of uncleanness?
Folly spirits are a little, that's
No,
different.
it's like,
Uncleanliness A folly spirit, what we're talking about with uncleanness, we're talking sexual sin and perversion. A folly spirit can be unclean, yes.
So let's just, you know, we all grown here, so let's just say it would be a person who maybe drinks the milk, you know.
Okay.
Or it may be a person that like peed on us,
It's
feces
unclean.
on, and
No, that's not it.
it's not
No, that's not it.
filthy, dirty.
That's not it. Okay, because that's the next one. That's not it.
Oh, okay.
Uncleanness. Lewdness.
Oh, okay.
That's what it is. Lewdness is the acts of doing stuff. You know, urinating on people, defecating on people, vomiting on people. Any type of sexual act like that. That's lewdness. The Bible calls it lasciviousness. And I wonder if there's scriptures that talks about this. Yes.
So is the uncleanliness the thought of the
No, the uncleanliness is morally impure. Uncleanliness is, it's not the thought. It's just unclean.
So like there was a famous person who said she had sex with the ghost. Is that uncleanness?
Did you really say a
That's
ghost?
She
fornication.
said a ghost.
No, that's a demon.
Oh,
That's
no,
not
No,
anything
that's
else.
a demon. That would be considered fornication. Having sex with demons is fornication. It's not uncleanliness. Uncleanliness is, it's morally, and uncleanliness you can pretty much broad it out. It's unclean, it's spiritually impure. So uncleanliness is just a broad, just like fornication. It's just a broad overview. If you're having sex with demons, that is fornication. Okay, lewdness, those are the acts that you're doing. Lewdness is the acts of what you're doing. So if you like someone to, you know, like urinate on you, that's lewdness. Urination would not be considered under fornication. Urination can be considered under fornication, but lewdness is the act of doing. We're going to go to Ephesians 5. Okay? Ephesians 5. And we're going to read Ephesians 5 and 3. All right, let's read.
Ephesians chapter 5 verse 3. But fornication and all uncleanliness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints.
See that? If you're going to be a saint, you cannot have fornication, and you cannot have the spirit of fornication, or the spirit of uncleanliness, or the spirit of covetousness. But we're focusing on fornication, listed first, uncleanliness, listed second. There's a reason why fornication, there's a reason why the sexual sins start off first when it starts to list different sins that Father hates. There's a very good reason why. And there's one chapter that we're going to highlight. One chapter that breaks it down on what Father feels like when people are dealing with fornication, when they're dealing with sexual sins, when they're dealing with any type of sexual sin whatsoever. There's a reason why Father leads with sexual sins first. the Christian church says that we have to change our culture because the world is changing. That's why they allow the homosexuals to come in. That's why they allow the lesbians to come in. That's why they allow the transgenders to come in and do whatever they want. Because they feel like, because the world is changing, the church has to change. That's the biggest lie there is. And every single one of them are going to burn in hell. Burn in hell. You have to run like this guy is doing. You have to run from sexual sin. We're going to get that scripture, but not till later. You got to run from sexual sin. Whatever it's doing, because I'm going to tell you something, the sexual sin leads to other sins. And we're talking tonight about the sexual sin leading into the ungodly soul ties. And when you get an ungodly soul tie because of the sexual sins, then it goes to your offspring, and your offspring has ungodly soul ties. Everybody is bound up. They call it a generational curse, but really it is a demonic soul tie. And we're going to really explain those things a lot later. Okay? What the Most High is doing is telling us to follow the scriptures. That's what Father is telling us to do. To follow the scriptures. Why does the Bible have so many verses that lead the sexual sin first? You ever think about that for a second? Why does the Bible have it where so many of the scripts start with sexual sin? We're going to show, all praises to the Holy Spirit, we're going to show that also. Why is that? Let's go 1 Corinthians 6. First Corinthians 6, and we're going to start it at verse 9. You got to understand something. If you have any type of demonic hold on with sexual sin, you got to get rid of that thing. That has to stop, or it's destruction. It is utter destruction. And I'm going to tell you something. When we get to that one chapter where Father highlights sexual sin and demonic soul ties, and he goes into detail on what he feels about that. 1 Corinthians 6, read.
1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 9. Know ye not that the unrighteous shall not inherit the kingdom of the Most High? Be not deceived.
Be not deceived. Here comes the list.
Neither fornicators.
Neither what?
Fornicators.
Neither what?
Fornicators.
Why did Father start off with fornicators? He starts off with sexual sin. Keep going.
Nor idolaters. Nor adulterers. Nor effeminate. Nor abusers of themselves with mankind.
So you must understand something, that Father has a perpetual hatred towards any sexual sin. He has a perpetual hatred for any sexual sin. Right? Verse 10.
Verse 10. Nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners shall inherit the kingdom of the Most High.
Yes.
And such were some of you, but ye are washed, but ye are sanctified, but ye are justified in the name of the Lord Yeshua, and by the Spirit of our power.
Right. It says, but ye are washed. Hold that for when we get much later on, because it talks about what that means. I'm not going to get into it right now, but it means something totally different than what we think it means. Let's go over to Ephesians 4:19. Remember I said lewdness, right? Ephesians 4:19 starts off with lewdness. Lasciviousness. lasciviousness. Lasciviousness is unadulterated sexual perversion, meaning rape, meaning urination on people, meaning defecating on people. Whatever lewd thought that you may have in your little brain of yours, it's any type of sexual sin, yes.
When you say rape, like if you were molested and you were raped, does it fall under that?
When you were raped, hold that thought. Hold that thought, because we have something on that with soul ties. Read.
Ephesians chapter 4 verse 19. Who being past feeling have given themselves over unto lasciviousness, to work all uncleanness with greediness.
All uncleanliness, right? So fornication is listed first in more scriptures. Go back to Ephesians 5 and 3. Let's go back there.
Before we get that,
Yes.
that is the part say, Elder, another thing I see amongst our people is that sexual sin is so normal. I notice my fleshly family speaks about sex freely and promotes having or have as sex partners as we can before you get married.
Mm-hmm.
Enjoy yourself. Shaking my head. Even mothers teaching young 14-year-old girls this behavior, and Jake is glorified if we're players with wickedness.
Right. It is. Family members, right now, nowadays, people just talk about, even in the workplace, people talk about sex like they're talking about what you're eating for lunch. It's crazy. It is crazy. You would think somebody's having a normal conversation. You have these two old women, and they're talking about what they did with their husbands the week before. And it's just like as if you're sitting there talking about, well, what you're having for lunch. I'm having this for lunch. It's crazy, and no one says anything. But the moment you start saying all praises be to the Most High, you're labeled as an outcast. You're labeled as whatever the case may be, right? But there's a reason why the Bible continues to have fornication listed first, sexual sins listed first. Read Ephesians 5 and 3, and then we're going to get Colossians 3 and 5.
Ephesians chapter 5 verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
But fornication and all uncleanness or covetousness, let it not be once named among you as becometh saints.
Right. You cannot become a saint in the Most High if you're dealing with fornication, or you're dealing with uncleanliness, or you're dealing with any type of sexual sin. You will not be called a saint, or you will not be called a part of Yeshua's ministry. Go over to Colossians 3 and 5, please, and let's read that.
Colossians chapter 3 verse 5. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth.
Mortify your members which are upon the earth. Kill your members which are upon the earth. Read.
Fornication,
Yes.
uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry.
All right, so it starts with fornication again. Mortify therefore your members. That means cut off anything that is causing your members to fornicate, unclean, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, covetousness, all of it which is called idolatry. The Bible is telling you to kill off that thing. If you're dealing with that, kill it off. This scripture, sexual immorality, is singled out. Let's go to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. First Thessalonians chapter 4, we're going to read verse 3, and then we're going to skip down to verse 7. The Bible is warning with those who deal with any type of sexual sin. And when I say sexual sin, I'm covering everything as far as sexual sins with humans and sexual sin with non-humans.
Animals, food.
When I say humans, of course, male, female, because that's all there is. Non-humans, animals, food, yes. Demons, yes.
Building.
Who?
Building. It was a lady that married the Eiffel Tower and she was intimate with it and everything.
That is foolishness.
Dumb.
She needs to be prayed for, really. 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 3.
1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 3.
How can you have a relationship with the Eiffel Tower? Maybe because it's that big, that point, maybe she thinks.
But we just said it's a perverted mind. It started in her mind first.
Something happened.
And she accepted that lie, that perversion.
When she was a schoolgirl, she fell in love with a shack. And then it just progressed. Right? She fell in love with the little doghouse. Oh, I love that doghouse. And it just progressed, and she went from the doghouse to apartment buildings to skyscrapers.
ARW said clones. He said, so you can't have sex with clones.
Yeah, you can't have intercourse with clones. Sure. Let's read.
1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verse 3. For this is the will of the Most High, even your sanctification, that ye should abstain from fornication.
Once again, he's separating this thing out. Abstain from fornication. And like we said, fornication is any sexual sin outside of the marriage. He's saying abstain from it. Verse 7.
Verse 7. For the Most High hath not called us unto uncleanness, but unto
He
holiness.
has not called you into uncleanliness, he's called you into holiness. Lewdness, right? That was another one. We're going to go 1 Peter 4. First Peter 4, verse 3. Okay, let's read that.
1 Peter chapter 4, verse 3. For the time past of our life may suffice us to have wrought the will of the Gentiles, when we walked in lasciviousness, lust, excess of wine, revelings, banquetings, and abominable idolatries.
Lasciviousness is first. Why is it that when the scriptures start talking about sins, the sexual sins are listed first?
You keep asking that. I don't know if somebody answered that.
I don't want anybody to answer. We're going to let the Bible answer it. Right? Satan tempts us to get the worst out of us. Whenever Satan tempts you, it is always to get something evil out of you. But when the Most High tests us, it's to get something good out of us. Yes.
When it was that food, like fornication, how?
How food? Because you can sit there and you can lust over food. The best way I can say as far as food goes is that gluttony. You commit gluttony. Or you can take a cucumber and stick it somewhere.
Or like the Jerry Springer, remember people used to lay on the table and they put food
Right.
on them and eat it off and smash it all over themselves.
Right. Right. It's kind of like that. Let's go to 2 Peter 2.
What about that guy? Well, one of the cases that came across your desk where the guy got fired.
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that was bad. You wanna know what happened? Send an email.
No, we're not gonna write that. We're not putting that.
Alright, 2 Peter chapter 2, we're gonna read verses 6 and 7. And then we got something on lock a little later. Read that, please.
2 Peter chapter 2 verse 6. And turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemned them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those that after should live ungodly, and delivered just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked.
Right, we're gonna find out about that a little later, alright?
So, you got some messages.
Alright, give us this day our daily bread. What this says is that we are dependent. Forgive us our debts. What this says is that we are sinful. Lead us not into temptation. What this says about us is that we are weak. You know those things about yourself, so you ask for prayer to have that stuff fixed. Yes.
Janice said, Elder, so I sent a mass group message to 20 family members about pagan Easter, and I sent them one of your videos, and they told me I'm evil for ruining their holidays, and said I'm brainwashed. I told them, but they're mocking Ahia, and ARW said, Elder Sir, I believe Satan used sex so much because the Most High made it beautiful between a man and a woman, and that's how we come into this world between a man and a woman. What is beautiful, Satan has ugly as he's taken all that the Most High has given us to be beautiful, but sex is the most beautiful thing the Most High made between a man and a woman when there is real love. So Satan had to make it.
Right.
I think he said that. Satan had to make it more vile, disgusting, filthy, everything to disgrace the beauty and love making. He wants to destroy it to the fullest.
Right. Yes, he does. We have something on that a little later also. A lot later, actually. The effects of pornography. Pornography is used to lead to infidelity and divorce. Pornography viewed leads to loss of interest in good family relations. Prolonged consumption of pornography views people as sex objects. Pornography is addictive, no joke. Child sex offenders are more than likely to view pornography or be involved in its distribution. Okay? There's a connection between consumption of violent pornography with behavior aggression, and that includes rape.
You know, I remember growing up, or, years before, when the young man was learning how to date a woman or a girl, he kind of got that information from his father,
Right.
how to treat a young lady. But nowadays, you have these young boys who started off at 8, 11, 13, whatever, and they watch porn, and they think that's how you treat a woman.
Right.
That's how you're supposed to be intimate with a woman. And it's not, because when you're dealing with porn, these people are acting, they probably high off their mind, and there's no love there. There's no intimacy, there's no caring, there's no love. And so they grow up, and these young boys become men, and they get wives, and they bring that same stuff over into their marriage, and the woman their wives end up feeling like a prostitute.
Right.
But when you tell them, hey, this doesn't feel right, this is not how it goes, that's when the man feels like something is wrong with the woman, and then they go outside the marriage. But they don't be like, wait a minute, hey, where did I learn this behavior from? Because they started at a young age, whereas they think
That's true.
That's why I say when a man cheats, it's just for the sex. It's no intimacy. It's nothing. They just doing it. But it says it's more dangerous for a woman to cheat because a woman, if she's married to a man that's like that, when she does cheat, she's gonna be involved with somebody emotionally. You know what I mean? And
Right.
that's even dangerous because they both are bad, but a woman is more involved emotionally before she actually get into dealing with a man, because by that time the devil done used him to dine her and tell her she's beautiful, all the things that she wants from her husband.
Right.
The devil done raised this man up to tell her these things. And
Right.
she gonna realize that
It's not good.
it's not good.
Jude 7, let's read.
Jude, verse 7. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire.
Correct. So, more than Sodom, we all know Sodom and Gomorrah were not the only cities that were destroyed. There were actually, I think, 5 different other cities that were destroyed with Sodom and Gomorrah, right? So let's see about this strange flesh. Because when you think of strange flesh, you think of homosexuality. But strange flesh is any type of, if you're married, any type of sexual sin outside of marriage is strange flesh. If you're married and the husband goes out and he cheats with another woman, that's strange flesh. If a woman goes out and cheats with a man, that's strange flesh. If a man decides that animals do it for him, that's strange flesh. If a man decides or a woman decides that demons do it for him, that's strange flesh. So it's not limited to homosexuality. Let's go to Proverbs 7. Proverbs 7 and 5.
Could it be strange flesh if a man is with a woman or a man that is not of the 12 tribes? Is that considered to be strange flesh as well?
It's considered to be strange flesh if that man knows that it's strange flesh. A lot of people don't know that, you can't intermingle outside of the 12 tribes if you're not in the 12 tribes. Christians don't know that. So if you got a person from Judah who's been a Christian and he marries a person from Japheth, how does he know? It's not until you are in the 12 tribes and you know the truth that you are a man of Judah or a man of Benjamin and you decide to go with a Russian or you decide to go with a German or you decide that you're going to date an Italian. That's strange flesh. Right? Proverbs, it is Italian, right?
I thought it was Italian. I know it was Italian.
No.
That's how the old folks, say that. That's how my grandfather used to say, that's why I laughed, Italian.
That's okay, he was a good man. Proverbs 7:5, read.
Proverbs chapter 7, verse 5.
Mm-hmm.
That they may keep thee from the strange woman,
Mm-hmm.
from the stranger which flattereth with her words.
Alright, so strange flesh is not just about homosexuals. Strange flesh is anyone whom you are dealing with outside of the marriage.
Flattery, we're talking.
Right?
Would that be a stripper, flattery?
Nah, that could be
Remember,
anybody.
we was talking about that song was so popular one summer. A
Romans 1.
lot of young men were singing being in love with a stripper.
Alright.
But that was so foolish. We was talking about that a couple of days ago.
Oh.
Like our people need help. For real.
Yeah, they do. I'm sorry, Romans 1 and 26. Let's read.
Romans chapter 1 verse 26. For this cause the Most High gave them up unto vile affections, for even their women did change the natural use into that which is against nature.
The women, this is for lesbians. Women dating and marrying women. 27, that's strange flesh.
Apparently, we saw one today with two women in the doctor's office, and one was pregnant.
Oh,
Yeah, they probably booted that man out.
probably. 27,
And likewise, also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another. Men and with men working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error which was meat.
which was meat. Going after strange flesh is not just gays, but it's those that are not following the laws, statutes, and commandments. You are unequally yoked. So Jude 7 is not just talking about homosexuals. It's not just talking about people who are going after adultery, but it's talking about anyone who you are dealing with and they are not following the law, statutes, and commandments. That is a person who is strange flesh, and you are to stay away from them. Because you are now unequally yoked at that point. So if you're not following the law, statutes, and commandments, and you are following them, and you meet someone that's not, the Bible says that that person is strange flesh. You cannot have communications with them or anything dealing with them, right? Both men and women need to understand this. It is a man's job to respect women. But you ladies got to give them something to respect.
That's right.
You got to give them something to respect. You can't walk around with your tops all hanging open. You can't walk around with, with your bottom part all flapping out. And then you expect for that man to respect you and not look at you like that. But men, you got to respect the women. You must respect the women.
So, if a woman is walking around with her self exposed, a man of the Most High would say, "Sister, you ain't got to do all that." He would try to talk to her, cover her up. Now,
You better be careful with that.
maybe cussed out or beat up or
You may get sprayed with mace or something.
but there's a way how you do things. But I would say this. Even if that woman don't give you anything to respect at that time, still respect her because you don't know. You may be able to change her mind.
Well, that's what the thing says. It says it's a man's job to respect a woman.
Yeah.
But you women gotta give them something to respect, right? You remember Genesis 13:13. So we all understand that the judgment of Sodom represents the lake of fire, right? Genesis 13:13.
Genesis chapter 13 verse 13. But the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly.
Exceedingly wicked, right?
Yeah.
Exceedingly wicked. But we're going to see something about Sodom and Gomorrah a little later.
One thing about Sodom and Gomorrah, because remember Abraham was saying if that Lord is at 50, is at 10. But it was only Lot, his two daughters, and his wife. So, but before then it says that the Most High Yeshua had heard the prayers or whatever that was going on in Sodom.
The cry of Sodom.
So who was crying out? Because it was only Lot and his two daughters and his wife.
Well, that's something we have to explore later because it
But
wasn't a
I'm just
cry
saying.
of prayer. So, because they weren't doing it. Right? Eternal damnation. And understand something about Lot too, because those were the ones who left, but Lot had the opportunity for everyone else to follow Lot. They choose not to do that.
He had more children.
Right?
Yeah.
So the opportunity was there for his family members, but they did not go.
No.
Eternal damnation continues to follow those who do not follow the law, statutes, and commandments. Go over to John 3 and 3.
While he's getting that, Gad Issachar say, elders, is it true if a woman dressed like a harlot and causes a man to lust, she will be accountable also because the man will be accountable for lusting? But won't the woman be accountable also?
Yes. Yes, she will.
It's called seduction.
And I believe we may have something coming up on that later, but that's in Proverbs. Yes.
It's seduction, seducing, right?
Right. Yes.
For women that do that, and even if they're married, that's still a form of
Do what?
adultery, right? Like purposely, like dress a certain way and you provoke.
Even if you're married,
Is that a form of adultery?
if you're doing it, you gotta explain that better for marriage.
So, okay, let me just say this. Today we were talking about lingerie,
Right?
and I told them that even if you're married, you should not be wearing lingerie because that still will cause your husband to lust after you.
Fantasy lust.
And it's still a sin
Fantasy lust.
because that's not how the Most High, Eve didn't come into the garden with lingerie on. You know what I mean? So your husband should love you
For who you are.
for who you are in the
Not
Most
because
High.
you put on tiger skins.
And
Yeah, so
Or leopard patterns.
lingerie is wrong.
Leopard patterns, right?
I feel like a married woman, right, goes
Mhm.
to the store in tights and she's causing a man to lust after her because she's married. That's still a form of adultery.
Yes,
No, that's not adultery. Adultery is sexual sin outside of the marriage. So if she's wearing tights and she is walking around a store, how is that fornication?
Like causing a
she
man to
put
lust
them
over
on
her.
purpose,
Yeah.
knowing
If she
for
put
that
them
purpose.
on purpose, still,
Yeah.
that's not fornication. That is, that's not adultery, that's fornication.
Because it's not a sex, you're not
Like
committing.
doing the sex stuff. So,
Fornication, adultery is sexual acts outside of the marriage.
So it's seduction, it's seducing a man.
Seducing is fornication.
Yeah, you're seducing somebody.
Correct. Seducing is fornication. So if she's putting on this stuff to go out and trap men, that's fornication. Okay, that's not adultery. Unless she traps a man and she's married and they start doing the thing, then that's adultery. Okay? John 3:3.
John chapter 3, verse 3. Yeshua answered and said unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto thee, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of the Most High.
Except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of the Most High. But you got to get rid of those sexual sins first. This was a Cherokee proverb. A woman's highest calling is to lead a man to his soul so as to unite him with source. What? Right? A man's highest calling is to protect women so she is free to walk the earth unharmed. I think this is very beautiful. And this was a Gad proverb. I want to say Cherokee. Right? And I think that's beautiful. And I think that is so true. Women, that's your highest calling. Men, that's your calling. Right? Alright, sexual sin in the Bible. Okay? Sexual sin in the Bible itself. First of all, Lot gets drunk and has sex in the cave. What was Lot's sexual sin? What was the sin that did with Lot? What was Lot? What was the sin that Lot dealt with? Not fornication, yes. Not incest,
Adultery.
not adultery either. What was the first one he dealt with?
Unclean.
Not uncleanness. What was the first one he dealt with? Not lewdness. What was the first one he dealt with? Read the scripture. Well, let's read the scripture.
He just said it.
Genesis 19, we're going to start at verse 30. What was the first sin that Lot dealt with dealing with this? We're going to read the Bible and let's see. Genesis 19, start at verse 30. Read that.
I'm telling you what it was.
Genesis chapter 19, verse 30. And Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountain, and his two daughters with him, for he feared to dwell in Zoar. And he dwelt in a cave, he and his two daughters.
31.
And the firstborn said unto the younger, Our father is old, and there is not a man in the earth to come in unto us after the manner of all the earth.
Has a sin been committed yet? No. 32.
32. Come, let us make our father drink wine.
Wait, stop. What was the first sin? Drunkenness.
That's what I was doing. I tried to act it out. I
That was
was
crazy. That was like.
Drunkenness was the first sin. It wasn't incest. That wasn't the first sin. It wasn't lewdness and everything else that you were saying. Drunkenness was. So let's think of this spiritually. If you're spiritually drunk, then what's going to happen? The demons are going to come in and they're going to take your seed.
Yeah. Whether you're physically drunk or spiritually drunk. Yeah, they gonna feel it.
And how can you be spiritually drunk? I'm going to show you that later. We're going to show you that later on being spiritually drunk and what that does to a person. 33. No, finish 32.
And we will lie with them, that we may preserve seed of our father. Verse 33. And they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. And it came to pass on the morrow that the firstborn said unto the younger, Behold, I lay yesternight with my father. Let us make him drink wine this night also, and go thou in, and lie with him, that we may preserve seed of our father. Verse 35. And they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him. And he perceived not when she lay down, nor when she arose. Thus were both the daughters of Lot with child by their father.
Right. So, and of course we all know what happened with the children of Lot, what they became, right? But the sin started with drunkenness, not being sober-minded, not being sober, being vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, even though they thought that the world was destroyed, they thought that the world was destroyed, so they said, we need to preserve the seed of our father, and we need to go back to how the commandment that was given to Adam and Eve. We got to start this thing all over again with our father. But they were presumptuous.
And that's kind of crazy because they didn't even go out to try to see
Nope.
if it was life somewhere else. You know what I mean? So they
Right.
just thought that they were the only ones left on the earth.
Correct, yes.
So, so they must have been born. Wait a minute, because I'm confused how like they thought it was the end of the world, but
Oh, that's no confusion. They were leaving Sodom and Gomorrah.
Abraham, their grandson,
No.
they didn't know of him.
No. Listen.
Listen to what he's saying.
When they were leaving Sodom and Gomorrah, Sodom and Gomorrah was being destroyed. They thought that the whole world was destroyed. They thought it was the end of the world. Right? They even, knew their mother turned into a pillar of salt. So they're thinking, okay, there's nobody here. But see, that's when you lean to your own understanding and not understand what's going on in your circumstances. So because you lean to your own understanding, you start to commit ungodly sins like this.
So-
Instead of them, okay, everything is calmed down, let's look out here and see if there's life. First of all, Noah did not just open up the ark and say, okay, everything's all good, right? He sent out a bird, okay?
So let me say this. So, well, spiritual drunkenness, it can be somebody that deals with, because the Bible tells us to be sober-minded and all that, to be vigilant. But if it's somebody that's dealing with like a loopy spirit, like they just can't get right and all that. So that's spiritual drunkenness, like their mind is not right.
Correct.
So when the perversion comes, when the thought of the perversion comes, the demons shoot those fiery darts because their mind, their spiritual drunken, they can't sit up there and reject and denounce those perverted thoughts because their mind is not on track in the first place.
Right. We got something on that too a little later. Yes.
Going back to Lot in the cave. So it says, so he was unconscious. He didn't know what was going on.
Right.
He was drunk.
He was drunk.
So that means it wasn't consensual.
So his daughters raped him?
No, his daughters didn't rape him. They just
No, they raped him.
had his way with him.
It's like a date rape drug.
Yeah,
They
that's
raped
the
them.
first case of
They just had it. No, they raped
So
their dad.
that's the first case
They
of
raped their father. That's what they
Okay,
did.
what started the sin with Jacob and the two sisters?
Oh.
Drunkenness. Once again.
Oh my goodness.
Right? Once again, Jacob got drunk. Right? And this is the result. Genesis 29, and we're going to read 21 and 28. Okay? Let's read that.
Genesis chapter 29, verse 21. And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her.
Mm-hmm.
And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him, and he went in unto her.
Mm-hmm.
And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah his maid for an handmaid.
Right?
Verse 25. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, What is this thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve thee with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me?
Well, first of all, Laban didn't beguile him at all. Jacob should not have been drunk in the first place. Be sober. Be vigilant. Because your adversary, the devil, looks to see who he is going to destroy. When you are not being sober-minded, Satan has a huge advantage over you.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a huge advantage over Jacob with this sexual sin. The sexual sin didn't start when Jacob was laying down with Leah. The sexual sin started with drunkenness.
So, what if somebody does not drink? What can make somebody spiritually drunk?
We'll get that later. We got that probably a lot later. We got that coming up later. Right? Verse 26.
Verse 26. And Laban said, It must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn.
27.
Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 28. And Jacob did so, and fulfilled her week. And he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife also.
Right. So what's happening is that these men, Lot and Jacob, were not really. These men were not. They were not operating with the full mindset of the Most High. They were operating with drunkenness. And because they were drunk, physically, Satan was allowed to use other people. And it's the same thing spiritually. And I don't want to get too much into this because there's something coming up that will tie this drunkenness with physical and spiritual. Okay? Love versus lust, right? Love gives. Love waits. Love respects. Love forgives. Love is unselfish. Love is generous. Love protects you. Love is faithful. Love upholds a person. Lust takes away from the person. Lust is impatient. Lust violates the person. Lust condemns a person. Lust makes a person self-centered. It's all about me. Lust is greedy. Lust endangers people. Lust is disloyal, and lust will abandon you. Yeah? Yes, it will. The Most High, Ahia, and Yeshaya hates those who spill semen. Yes, he does. Spill semen. Right? Genesis 38. We're going to start at verse 8. Read that.
Genesis chapter 38, verse 8. And Judah said unto Onan, Go in unto thy brother's wife and marry her, and raise up seed to thy brother.
9.
And Onan knew that the seed should not be his. And it came to pass, when he went in unto his brother's wife, that he spilled it on the ground, lest that he should give seed to his brother.
He spilled it on the ground, right? Next verse.
And the thing which he did displeased the Lord, wherefore he slew him also.
So, if you have spilled seed before, I guarantee you Yeshaya is not pleased with you. I guarantee you Ahia is not pleased with you if you've spilled seed before. You have to repent. But see, you can't do it again. If you repent and you do it again, if you repent and you do it again, we got something for you later on. I guarantee you that one. Judah. I thought she was a harlot, right? Judah, sexual sin. And all these sexual sins are going to lead to something that you don't want to deal with. And that's soul ties. Right? Genesis chapter 38, verse 15. Genesis 38 and 15. Okay, read that.
Genesis chapter 38, verse 15. When Judah saw her, he thought her to be an harlot, because she had covered her face.
Yes.
And he turned unto her by the way, and said, Go to, I pray thee, let me come in unto thee, for he knew not that she was his daughter-in-law. And she said, What wilt thou give me that thou mayest come in unto me?
Right? See, Judah. Judah wasn't supposed to be going to harlots in the first place. Right? That's the first thing. The second thing, he went to her, but she's not too out of this also. You have to read that on your own time, right? So this is lust versus love. The thought that you have about your wife, if it's like this, that's lust. If it's like this, that's love. Anybody care to explain what I mean by this? Yes.
You just think about being with your wife, like, rather than spending time being intimate, like spending time, right? That's how I feel.
Pretty much. Right. This is your time. This is what consumes your time, right here. Not this. This is love. Because you just sit there, you watch movies or whatever the case may be. That's love. But if you always are thinking this, that's lust.
Well, on the love side, I don't see no point.
All right, let's move on. Let's go to Romans 3:10. His teaching is not to condemn, it's to save people. It's not to condemn you if you're dealing with sexual sins. Hopefully, this teaching will save you, especially when we get to the end. Let's read.
Romans chapter 3, verse 10. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one.
There is none righteous, no, not one. Lust, once again, misplaced confidence. Lust manipulates others for the purpose of meeting your own needs. That's what lust is.
So is it like when a woman or a man, okay, so I'm gonna say this.
Mm-hmm.
So, a man talk back to his wife, he can't stand her half the time. But when he's ready for his own selfish purposes, he starts treating her nice and talking
That's
to her.
manipulation. That's lust.
And so what about when a woman wants her man to do something, she'll withhold from him
Mm-hmm.
to get him to do something and then give it to him? That's just
That's
manipulation.
manipulation, regardless how you look at it. Love focuses on meeting the genuine needs of the other person without thinking about yourself. That's love. We're going to go John 10:10. None of the preachers today have the guts to preach against homosexuality or anything that's dealing with sexual sin. None of them do. And this is maybe our fourth teaching on sexual sin that I can think of.
So do you think a woman and a man that's married, they need to uplift each other? Because if you start saying stuff,
You should, but I don't see anything wrong with uplifting each other. There's nothing wrong with that.
put that down.
Okay? In fact, you should uplift each other. I don't see anything wrong with a man or a woman uplifting the spouse. John 10:10. Read.
John chapter 10, verse 10. The thief cometh not, but for to steal and to kill and to destroy. I am come that they might have life and that they might have it more abundantly.
All right, that's what Satan does. Did you know bestiality and homosexuality is the same in the Bible? If you really read the scripture, bestiality and homosexuality is the same. Let's go to Leviticus 18. Let's read this again. I'm sure we've read it before. Leviticus 18, we're going to start at verse 25. Leviticus, yes, 18 and 22. The Most High puts homosexuality and bestiality in the same regard. Right? Read that.
Leviticus chapter 18, verse 22. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind, it is an abomination.
Now read the first verse in 23.
Neither shalt thou lie with any beast to defile thyself therewith.
It says neither. So it's telling you that homosexual is wrong, bestiality is wrong. But it's putting homosexuality and bestiality in the same light.
Finish the verse.
Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is confusion.
See that? Man should not lie with mankind, neither shall anyone lie with a beast, neither shall a woman stand in front of a beast. 24.
Defile not ye yourselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, which I cast out before you.
Yes.
And the land is defiled. Therefore I do visit the iniquities thereof upon it, and the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants.
All right, so homosexuality is the same as bestiality.
You dealing with the homosexual spirit, it's the same thing as dealing with the bestiality spirit. Right? Homosexuals in the mystery religion. Well, can somebody tell me what this is? Or who coined this belongs to? It's, if you don't know, I'll just say, it's the Knights Templar. Anybody know who the Knights Templar are? Okay. So if you don't know who the Knights Templar were, they were the Catholic / Christian soldiers that went in the wars between the Catholics and the Muslims. Those were a special group of soldiers called the Knights Templar. What's wrong with this coin right here? And what's wrong with their symbol? It's two men, right?
There's a shield here. Why do you think that shield is there?
They're probably not naked, but why do you think that shield is there? What do two men do to each other? Right. They were homosexuals. The majority of the Knights Templar were homosexuals. Who is this guy?
All right, remember 9/11?
Oh, is that the guy who owns the tower? I was too young.
This is the mayor of New York at the time.
9/11 happened.
Oh.
Rudolph Giuliani.
Is that the one that's supposed to crash?
I don't know if you know, that's buried in Washington, D.C.
No, they haven't even,
He's the one dressed in drag.
Oh.
That's him.
Oh my goodness.
That's him. That is him right there.
That's Trump. Right?
Wow.
Let's get 1 Kings 15.
Yeah.
1 Kings 15. All right, let's read.
1 Kings chapter 15, verse 11. And Asa did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, as did David his father.
Mm-hmm.
And he took away the Sodomites out of the land and removed all the idols that his fathers had made.
If you do that in America, then half of America will be gone. Half of America will be gone.
And if it's viewed as what I'm saying as hate,
So be it.
Yeshaya is getting real tired of all this. He's getting really tired of people who continually deal with these sexual perversions. We're going to go Malachi 2. Because one thing will happen is this. Malachi 2:17. Let's read it.
Malachi chapter 2, verse 17. Ye have wearied the Lord with your word.
You have wearied the Lord with your words, right? A person who constantly deals with sexual sin, eventually Yeshua's going to be tired of that. Keep going.
Yet ye say, wherein have we wearied him? When ye say, everyone that doeth evil is good in the sight of the Lord, and he delighteth in them. Or where is the Most High of judgment?
So because people deal with sexual sin,
All of a sudden, what is evil, you think that's good in the sight of the Lord, in the sight of Yeshua. And then they think that Yeshua likes them or loves them. Who are these guys?
John Wayne Gacy.
Sure, he's obvious, right? All of these guys are homosexuals who are, let's get Jeremiah 7. All of these are homosexuals who are serial killers. Because that's what happens when you deal with sexual sin, it evolves.
So you're dealing with so many spirits, it's not just one. It's the whole family member of all of them.
It's not just one sexual sin that you're dealing with. You're dealing with a whole conglomerate of sexual sins. And these, not only are you dealing with a whole conglomerate of sexual sins, but then now you got all kinds of murdering spirits or all kinds of child molestation spirits. So not only do you have these sexual sins that you have to deal with, but you got these underlying demons that you have to deal with also, that may have not reared their ugly head, but eventually they will. If you don't get rid of that thing, eventually they will. And Yeshua was telling us this through one of his prophets, which we'll read later. Jeremiah 7 and 16.
Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 16. Therefore pray not thou for this people,
don't pray for
neither lift up cry nor prayer for them,
them.
neither make intercession to me, for I will not hear
He
thee.
will not hear thee.
So a person who's dealing with sexual sin and everything, a person that's dealing with all kinds of lust spirits, he will not hear thee. Right? Let's talk about some lust demons for a quick second. Incubus. Yeah.
That is a concept. We're living in Isaiah 3:9
Yes, we are.
all over again.
Yes, we are. I don't think we ever left it. Maybe somebody don't know what Isaiah 3:9 says, so let's get Isaiah 3 and 9. I don't think we ever left. I really don't. I believe that we are still in those times. We're still in the times of Sodom and Gomorrah. We haven't left Sodom and Gomorrah because Sodom and Gomorrah has been destroyed. It just changed its name to America, to Las Vegas,
Ooh, yes.
to Sayville, New York.
Nevada.
Right? It just changed its name. That's all. Reread that Isaiah 3 and 9.
Isaiah chapter 3, verse 9. The show of their countenance doth witness against them, and they declare their sin as Sodom, they hide it not.
They hide it not.
Gay pride parade.
Right. Keep going.
Woe unto their soul, for they have rewarded evil unto themselves.
See that? They pronounce it all over the place. Gay pride parades, gay flags all over the place. Women, like you said today, 2 women in a maternity doctor's office. It's just madness.
So
And you better not tell that one woman that she's not a man, she's a woman. They probably jack you up.
let me tell you what they have created. And let's think about this. So they have created underwear for women. You know how you have to pull down your clothes. They say, oh, you don't have to do that. You have underwear on, and they have a cup in it with a spout. So you undo the spout and stick it through your pants, and you pee in a cup, it'll come out like a man peeing, like a penis. But my thing is that, so if when you pee in that and it come out as a spout, are you gonna be able to wipe yourself? No. So that's another thing for a woman to really wear, so she can stand and pee like a man.
Well, she got a penis, she don't have to, she won't think about wiping herself, yes.
So when we go around and we see all these like gay pride flags and all these little statues and stuff, is it wrong to like want to tear them down?
No.
Or if a person actually does tear one down?
Well, be ready for the police to come and arrest you. It's not wrong to want to tear it down because of what it represents. But you have to understand and know, you're in captivity.
Yeah.
So if you go and you start knocking down gay flags, you are writing a recipe to get arrested.
Yeah.
Because you are inciting a riot.
It's a hate crime.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
What I just did a few minutes ago would be considered a hate crime. Because I said all homosexuals is just like bestiality. That would be considered hate. But you know what? I'm reading what the Bible says. And I hate what my father hates. Incubus. That's a man demon. He is thought to seek sexual intercourse with sleeping women. Remember, we talked about drunkenness with Jacob and Lot. We're going to get into that a little later. That's incubus, right? You all know that because we've taught on it before. Succubus, a demon in female form said to have intercourse with men in their sleep. Any demon or evil spirit, that's succubus, right? But I'm also going to show you what you should say and what should happen when you have these things come at you at the night. Lust is an illegal desire to satisfy our flesh. So understand, if this thing continues to come night after night after night, something's wrong with you.
It's the mind. It's the
This,
It's what is it called?
it's just the mind. There's something wrong with you.
Perverted. It's perversion. Your mind is
Because
perverted.
because it's illegal, first of all, and that desire, your flesh has to be satisfied one way or the other. And you're allowing demons to do it.
It's perversion.
The truth be told, let's understand something also. Demons cannot get access to you unless you give it to them.
Mm-hmm.
They can't.
They can keep trying, but if you keep
They can't.
denying,
They can't get access. It's once you said, take me, old demon, that's what they do. Right? You cannot, demons do not have access to your body unless you grant them access. Any type of disobedience gives the demons access to your body. Any type of disobedience whatsoever. And that disobedience, and then the demons coming at you at night brings forth, you got physical problems, you're mentally not there anymore. Your mental capacity goes as the demon attacks you at night. That continues on. Your mental faculties is gone. That's what I said when I said about Lot and what I said about Jacob. But there's a little more to Lot and Jacob, which we're going to get. Okay? All right, go ahead.
the first one is,
Mm-hmm.
ARW said, I agree with you, Elder Sir. Now times is growing short, and things that were always here, they're not being hidden anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're right out open in front where you can see them face forward, and you can't say anymore, I don't see it, or I don't know that kind of hard. Now because it's right up in front of your face,
Mhm.
so it shows if you want to be a part of the so-called power, this is how they get you down and if you want to a part where we have this and how you must be, so there is no more hidden anything. It's all out in the open. The
Right.
Most High said, my closing statement, there is nothing new under the sun.
There isn't. So,
Let me interrupt for a quick second. Have you ever heard of an owl store, a night owl store? You're in your 20s, you probably have it. Those used to be the stores when I was growing up where they would only open at maybe 9 or 10 o'clock at night, and they would close at like 4 in the morning, and that's where you would get your adult things from. But the door front would always be black or something. It would never have any type of advertising on the door. It would be black. It was like a store. But the windows, everything would be black. And this store was not, and that's where the name Night Owl Store come from. Because they wouldn't open until about 9 o'clock at night. And they will always be in like a warehouse industry place, or it would always be somewhere off where not too many people travel. That's not the case anymore. Because in the case now, they have superstores, adult bookstores where, you know, it looks like a normal clothing store. There's no shame in it anymore. Right? Finish reading that. I'm sorry. I just
So
have to put
Gad
that in there.
Issachar says, elders, it's funny because years ago, I watched a documentary study on sex and science. Says when a man and female have sex, the woman releases a chemical to the brain that causes brain activity and emotional connection. So remember, science tries to be contrary to the Bible,
Mhm.
but in fact, it's proven the Bible is true because sex is spiritual. It can be good or wicked demons access, and whoever we sleep with, their energy and their spirit dwells inside the person.
That is correct. We're gonna go further into that later on in this lesson. Yes, that is so true. Okay. Unforgiveness. Okay. Unforgiveness and bitterness, right? It cuts you off from the grace of the Most High and the covering, right? Carnality. Spending too much time on non-spiritual things. And even if it's not a sin, right? Your free time is you're watching movies all the time. It's not a sin to watch movies, but this is what sets up the demons to come at you at night. Because of the fact you're spending so much time on carnal things and not spiritual things. So, what is feeding into your mind? Any activity that does not have a purpose to deliberately enhance or edify the body and the spirit. Because it's your spirit that's fighting these evil spirits. So, if you read your Bible 5 minutes a week, you're susceptible to demons. You're susceptible to them. If you're not focused on living a righteous life, you are susceptible to demons. I could care less how much you read the Bible. Right? Your mind is vulnerable at night. It's vulnerable. And you must rely on the strength of the Holy Spirit when you go to sleep. Because your body and your mind, it's a door opener for demons when you go to sleep and you are living a carnal life. It's a door opener. your spirit is starved. Because of the fact that either you're not operating 100% in the Most High. And because you're not operating 100% in the Most High, you are a sponge for evil spirits, especially at night. You're a sponge. And this is why I say you have to live the scriptures. If you're not living the scriptures, then at night you are susceptible to all types of evil spirits.
Because you're not going to have discernment in your sleep. While you're sleeping, everybody knows your body is at rest, but your spirit does not sleep.
Correct.
So your spirit is actively awake and active in the spirit realm.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're sleeping and your spirit is having sex with an incubus or succubus spirit, we have to know that things happen spiritually before they happen naturally in the natural realm. So you are committing adultery and fornication in your sleep. And with this, these demons, like Shepherd was saying, they do cause issues. They do cause sickness, so they can mess with your, physically they can make you sick, spiritually they can make you sick, they can physically mess with your finances. I mean, they can cause so many problems. That's why you must, when you wake up.
Don't do that. No, don't do that. Alright, get that later. Alright, fear and doubt opens the door for these spirits. You have fear or any type of doubt, they open the door for these lust spirits to come in.
How do you feel about your partner?
Opens the door for
Husband
them.
or your wife?
Correct.
Yeah.
Without a question, molestation does. And molestation has 3 different types of spirits attached to it. The first one for molestation is always going to be the perversion spirit. That's first. The second one is always going to be a victimization spirit. Right? Or later on, low self-esteem spirit. Victimization. And the third one is always going to be fear. Because every time your room door cracks open and you smell alcohol, you automatically know what's going to happen next. And so that fear spirit comes in. But molestation, these 3 spirits will always attack the person. Always. There's not going to be, well, only 2 of the 3 are going to attack this person. That's not the case when you are molested. Okay? Yes.
So when it comes to perversion, like if you're molested, can it be like you're prone to like pornography, you know, like when you
Yes.
start
Being molested, yes, it can lead to pornography.
promiscuous. So my
Yeah.
question with that was, so being molested and everything promiscuity comes with it. The histrionic, can that be a lead, you know, molestation, you start being promiscuous and then the self-esteem, and you use that as a gateway, you know, like.
Histrionic is a part, I wouldn't say histrionic is the main one. Histrionic is a part of that.
Like it's
Well, let's see what that is. That's an emotional.
Right, it's part of it.
Because remember, there's 3.
Yeah, because part of that histrionic is seduction.
Right, but that's also
So
the
that can be
mindset of
perversion.
victimization.
yeah, so it's like all of that. So does it, you know, can it be the start of developing that mental illness, you know, like.
Yes.
So we
And
said
so a
that
person
earlier.
that's dealing with all this, one thing like Shepherd has up there, you gotta come against that demon of perversion, because it starts here. Everything, it starts here. If you let it get your mind, Shepherd and I always say this, if the devil gets your mind, he got everything else.
Right.
So that battle is in your mind first.
That's the very first slide I had.
You
That
cannot,
was in your mind.
you cannot sit up there and let the demons keep throwing them thoughts after thought. You have to launch a full-blown attack and say, no, you cannot have my mind. I'm not going to sit up here and have these visions, these thoughts. I'm not going to do it. You have to come against it.
Right.
But when you do that, what are you going to fill your mind with? If you're not reading your Bible and you don't know what thus said the Lord said about it, what you going to fill your mind with? The demon's going to, they'll leave, but remember, it'll come back and find your home what? Swept and cleaned up.
Right.
And it's going to come on back in. So if a person come from masturbate, they're going to go outside having sex. Then they're going to go outside having orgies. It's going to get wild.
Yeah, it's all
Picks
skin
up.
picks up.
Mm-hmm.
Emotional wounds.
You have to fight.
These demons take advantage of weaknesses.
In the person. That's why I say you cannot be in this walk and be all emotional. You cannot do that. Demons take advantage of emotions, and the emotions
That make you weak, they take advantage of it.
So let me tell you what I learned when I was in college for psychology. Anytime somebody is dealing with anxiety, low self-esteem, they're stressed out, what do your brain usually need to make you feel better? Dopamine. And how do they get it? Through what? Sex, masturbation, something that makes them feel good. Now, we know as people of the Most High, when we're going through, we're going to go into prayer, we're going to come against it, we're going to get delivered, we're going to get spiritually strong. But worldly people, and remember, everybody in here was worldly before, when we were being stressed out, what did we do?
sex or alcohol
Yeah.
or drugs.
There you go, something unclean.
Right.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
With these emotional wounds, I said like that, being more that you go in and listen to that, if someone's not a conflict, but if someone does deal with committing adultery, can it be like a stress related and like emotional wound, and then like that's their scapegoat, and it's when they have this, you know,
Well, yeah, like I said earlier, when a man does it, why do he commit adultery? He's stressed out at home, he's not liking what's going on, and he go and he get that release from another woman where he don't have to show love. He ain't got to talk about the bills. He ain't got to talk about groceries. He just go and he get it, hey, and it's released, and then he come back. But a woman, what do we go through? We need that emotional attachment. So we start getting that emotional. My husband don't listen to me, but I can talk to so-and-so over here. He listen to me. He take me out. He buy me food. He tell me how pretty I am. It's all a lie.
Right. It's all a lie. It's just like a cutter.
Yeah.
They don't feel relief until they cut themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they cut themselves and see the blood and feel the cut, then all of a sudden they feel relief. It's the same thing. Being wounded
Leaves us weak and leaves you vulnerable.
to demons. That's why I always say, don't be in your emotions. Don't get in your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take offense, because once you do, you are a door opener for demons, right? Deliverance is needed.
Okay? You have to renounce
The demons,
and you also have to renounce the works of the demon. You can't just sit up, I renounce you, Malik spirit. I renounce you, incubus. I renounce you, succubus, without denouncing the works of the demon. And that's something that I don't know why people just don't do it.
And you have,
but you got to renounce the works of the spirit. So if you're dealing with a demon of sexual whatever,
You have to renounce the demon and renounce the works that they do.
and make sure, remember the scripture says, how could two agree unless they walk together? You have to say, Father, I'm not in agreement. Okay. I'm just gonna be quiet.
Don't let an attack,
carry out without challenging the evil spirit.
an evil spirit attacks you, you do not let that go on. Yes.
When you say renounce the works,
Renounce the words. If you're dealing, if a lust demon comes, if a incubus, if a sex demon comes to you you're gonna renounce the incubus, right? But is that all you're gonna do? Because you just I renounce you, incubus. You have to renounce the works also. I renounce, and I'm gonna give you an example. I have a prayer. This is how you pray. I know
what you are and what you are here to do, and I renounce you in the name of Yeshua. My body does not belong to you. It is a temple of the Holy Spirit.
There you go.
Flee from me, demon. I command you to leave me right now in the name of Yeshua. I don't receive your seed in me and will not give birth to your nasty, perverted offspring of evil.
And
So not only are you renouncing the spirit, but you're renouncing the works of the spirit also. I will go back while you write this down.
there is a such thing as demonic pregnancies, demonic children, like,
Right. We're going to talk about that when we get to demonic soul tie. I'm sorry, when we get to demonic spouses next week. That's the teacher for next week, demonic spouses. That's where you get your demonic pregnancies, and people don't think it's real, but it's real.
oh, let me tell you this. I didn't know it, remember? When we were
You know
at,
what?
that you can be, when you have these sex dreams, for the men, when you have sex dreams, you can be making babies in the spirit realm. with
What do you
demons.
think your semen is going to? You think it's just going on whatever it is?
That you just splattered all over?
No, it's not.
And women, when you have sex, you can actually be pregnant with demonic babies, spiritual pregnancy, demonic. And sometimes, let me tell you, I didn't know anything of this. And we were in our first deliverance ministry, and the lady came to me, and of course you have to evaluate them before you can pray for someone. And she was telling me, she said, I said, is there any chance you could be pregnant? She said, no, my stomach just hurts all the time, and my period, my menstrual is delayed, and is this and is this. And I'm like, well, I went into prayer because I'm like, what is going on? The Holy Spirit showed me that she was pregnant. She had been having sex dreams, which a lot of people don't like to tell that, but Mother told me that, and she said that this lady was pregnant with demonic babies from the demons, and I just stopped calling it out. I just said demonic pregnancies, I commanded all of them to die, and this woman started going through this massive deliverance for almost an hour. And I'm just in disbelief. Because at this point, the guy in the ministry that was over the place, he didn't even know. So she went through this huge deliverance, and I'm just still in disbelief. But I prayed for her, and we were in agreement together for her to get delivered. By the time I went home, I was going through the same deliverance that I had prayed over her for almost 2 hours. It blew my mind. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Right, so if you're having any type of bad, messed up periods, that could be a telltale sign.
You have to listen when people are talking. You must, I'm going to repeat this, we're going back to this prayer again. You have to pray this prayer through. I know what you are and what you are here to do. You have to do that. You have to not only renounce the demon, but you have to renounce the works of the demon. Because the demons are renouncing Yeshua left and right. And they're renouncing his works left and right. So you have to do the exact same thing. Right? I renounce you. I renounce your works in the name of Yeshua. My body does not belong to you.
Yeah.
You have to let the demons know that my body does not belong to you. It belongs to the Holy Spirit.
That's right.
Then you tell them to get out. You command them to leave me right now in the name of Yeshua, not later. And you do this right after the attack happens, until you get spiritually built up
to where when that attack starts to happen while you sleep, you're fighting in your sleep. But this has to happen the moment that the moments that it happens. You getting up, oh, what was this? You got to do this right then and there. And you must do it with conviction. Lead me right now in the name of Yeshua. You got to say, I don't receive your seed in me. I don't receive it.
And I will not give birth to your nasty, perverted offspring of evil.
You have to say this. You have to do this. This is how you fight.
You and your family members.
But
Everybody.
see, there's an if with this prayer.
There's an if with this prayer. I'll wait till you're done. The if is, you can't have any door openers. If you have any door openers, the demons are not going to
Care how you pray.
They're not going to be moved because they are legally bound to you. Hence, soul ties. They're legally bound to you. So if you got any open doors, that
Prayer will not work. The prayer will only work if you close those open doors, because the demons now they don't have a foothold to operate in.
you've got to kill the seed.
And for you men, you must say, for the children that was fathered in the spiritual realm.
Yeah, I got that next one.
Okay. So let me say this, because we're dealing with married couples as well. Yes, a husband and wife can have a demonic soul tie.
Right.
So the woman and the man must get delivered. You cannot just have the man going through and the woman not, or the woman going through and the man not. Because I'm gonna tell you, if one get delivered and the other one don't, when you all come together, guess what's gonna happen? That person gonna get reinfected. You're just transferring the demons backward and forward.
Right.
So both persons must go through deliverance and denounce this, reject them. Even if y'all gotta pray together, we don't walk with you. We walk with Ahia, Yeshua, Walla. That's who we walk with. We don't walk with you, you devil. We don't walk with your family members, your offspring. No, we reject all of that.
Right. So you gotta immediately abort
Anything that may have been planted in you or
out of you. You have to abort it. You must.
If you don't, it's going to come back again. And don't go back to sleep.
Don't go back to sleep. It's time to, they come to you, it's time to fight.
You can sleep later. You've got to fight against this thing. You have to recognize that
you must recognize that sexuality is a gift,
like AR was saying,
from the Most High. It's a gift. But before you get that gift, this thing needs to be taken care of. These things need to be taken care of. All of this.
bitterness, unforgiveness, bitterness, being carnal, lukewarm, having
Fear and doubt. The molestation spirits that you experience.
emotional wounds that you go through. You got to get delivered from that, and you must pray this prayer. You must do this stuff.
Yeah.
You have to
Close any open doors that you have. You must kill the seed. If you're a man and you spilt it, you got to kill that seed. But you can't keep doing it. Right? If you're a woman, then you have to abort it. You must abort anything that has been planted in you.
Yeah, I hear that.
Let's go to Genesis 2. Sexuality, or I think it was either AR or Dad, one of the two.
One of them has said that sexuality is a gift from the Most High, right?
But we're going to investigate gifts also. Let's go Genesis 2 and
24.
let's read.
Genesis chapter 2 verse 24. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 25. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed.
They were not ashamed. Right? Let's skip over to Proverbs 5.
Okay, they were not ashamed. Proverbs, the 5th chapter.
Do you remember that movie, it was two of them. One was, The Conehead, and the other one was with Sylvester Stallone in it. And when they actually supposed to have had sex, they never touched each other.
Oh, yeah, that was Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
The movie was Sylvester Stallone.
I always thought about that.
There's
Because it is more spiritual. And that's when Yeshaya says that if you look at a woman, you lust out of a woman, you have already committed adultery or
adultery.
with her already, because it is a spiritual thing.
Right. Spiritual before it becomes physical.
Mm-hmm.
Proverbs 5 and 18. Let's read.
Proverbs chapter 5 verse 18. Let thy fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth.
Mm-hmm.
Let her be as the loving hind and pleasant roe.
Mm-hmm.
Let her breast satisfy thee at all times, and be thou ravished always with her love.
All right, you have to be encouraged that the Most High is patient.
But he's only patient for those who seek to have a true heart. Nehemiah 9 and 7. No, Nehemiah 9 and 17.
So men be satisfied with your wife.
Correct. All right, let's read.
Nehemiah chapter 9 verse 17. And refused to obey, neither were mindful of thy wonders that thou didst among them,
People refuse to obey. Go ahead.
but hardened their necks, and in their rebellion appointed a captain to return to their bondage. But thou art a power ready to pardon, gracious and merciful, slow to anger and of great kindness,
Mm-hmm.
and forsookest them not.
And forsooketh them not. Because all sexual sins lead to demonic soul ties. Every single one of them. And yes,
Can you have a demonic soul tie with someone and not have like that sexual encounter with them?
sure. You don't have sex with your children, right? There's
Oh,
a demonic
yeah.
soul tie there,
Yeah.
right? But let's understand something. Demonic soul ties are not just
With people.
it could be with animals. You get that person who loves animals more than they love people. They'll run over a person, but when a dog is out in the street,
They'll stop it. Come on, little puppy.
but they'll sit there
And they'll run a red light to get to where they're going. If a person's in the way, oh well, bam.
there's a spirit inside a person.
Person's head, right? There's a spirit inside a person's head who has a demonic soul tied to. Well, let's get to it.
First of all, you have to renounce these spirits.
Formally declare one's abandonment. Reject. Stop using. Stop consuming.
And you have to renounce it. A soul tie is a
An
bad,
ungodly relationship.
that has been knitted together.
A bad relationship. Okay?
Soul tied in married couples,
You have the battered wife syndrome.
where the wife gets battered and beaten.
That's a demonic soul tie. Soul ties can do things
To manipulate and control the other person.
That's what a soul tie is. And the other person don't even know that they're being manipulated and they're being controlled.
Okay? Soul ties. How do soul ties form? First one is sexual relationships,
That's the obvious one.
right? But they also are formed by close relationships. Mother, son, mother, daughter, father, son, father, daughter. Okay? Not necessarily grandparents. Grandparents don't have soul ties to their grandchildren. That's not really possible. It always is someone who is immediate. A aunt is not going to have a soul tie with her niece or nephew. That's not.
You don't think so?
That's not.
It's not as common as the most common one with close relationships is mother or father with their children.
An aunt can have a demonic soul tie with their niece,
But the more prevalent one,
is mother, father, son, daughter.
vows, making vows, commitments, and agreements.
Can cause you to have a demonic soul tie.
Yes.
Could you give an example of the vows and commitments?
Yeah, I got some coming up later. Okay. Let's go Mark 10. Mark 10, we're going to start at verse 7. Okay? All right, let's read.
Mark chapter 10, verse 7. For this cause shall a man leave his father and mother, and cleave to his wife, and they twain shall be one flesh. So then they are no more twain, but one flesh.
Mm-hmm.
What therefore the Most High hath joined together, let not man put asunder.
All right, that would be a good.
Soul tie. Right? That would be a good soul tie. Here's another good soul tie. Let's go to Ruth,
Chapter 1,
and we're going to read verses
16 to 18.
And no,
We're not talking about Ruth because I know that the homosexual agenda is to make Ruth and Naomi lesbians. But that's not what the Bible is for. And in fact, Ruth could not be a lesbian because she married Boaz later. Okay? Ruth chapter 1, verses 16 to 18. Read that.
Ruth, Ruth chapter 1, verse 16.
Mm-hmm.
And Ruth said, Entreat me not to leave thee, or to return from following after thee. For whither thou goest, I will go, and where thou lodgest, I will lodge.
Mm-hmm.
Thy people shall be my people, and thy power my power. Where thou diest will I die, and there will I be buried. The Lord do so to me, and more also, if aught but death part thee and me.
18.
When she saw that she was steadfastly minded to go with her, then she left speaking unto her.
All right, so that's a godly soul tie between a mother and a mother-in-law, right?
No.
Mother-in-law and daughter.
Right, mother-in-law and daughter. Okay, godly soul tie. So here you have this young lady.
And let's say she had sex with this guy who has anger problems. This guy had sex with this girl who has low self-esteem. She had sex with him. This guy had sex with her. And she had sex with him and him. And this anger problem leads to a spirit of addiction. This spirit of addiction leads to pornography. This spirit of addiction leads to a spirit of something. But this is what demonic soul ties do. This one person had sex with this person gets with this person, and this person, and this person, and so on, and it just builds and builds and builds. Okay? When a person has an ungodly sexual relationship with another person,
An ungodly soul tie is formed. That's only obvious. People who have many relationships, or if you have an incest
relationship. If you're asleep, I would advise you to stand up, because
I've been up all day too.
it would be difficult to bond with anyone
Because of their soul is fragmented.
your soul is fragmented.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard, so with spouses, like if you started your relationship in fornication, can that still, you know, the ungodly soul thing?
Yes, we got an example of that.
Coming up. 1 Corinthians 6 and 16. 1 Corinthians 6 and
16.
Read.
1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 16. What? Know ye not that he which is joined to an harlot is one body? For two saith, he shall be one flesh.
So you're joined to a harlot, you are joined, two becomes one. That's the soul tie. Two become one flesh. That's a soul tie. So when Yeshua said two will become one flesh, that's a soul tie. Whether it's physical
Or whether it is,
well, it's spiritual, right? So, vows, right? Vows are known to bind the soul. So let's see that in, we're going to go to Numbers chapter 30, and we're going to read verse 2.
vows are known to
Bind the soul. Marriage itself is consists of vows
that binds the two together for life. Right? Numbers 30 and 2. Read.
Numbers chapter 30, verse 2. If a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth.
He shall do what is proceeded out of his mouth. Right?
All right. Let's go to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel 12. And we're going to read one verse, verse 24.
All praise. Just people going through deliverance here. I pray you all be set free as well. 2 Samuel what?
2 Samuel 12 and 24.
Got it? Alright. So let's look at you know what? Hold on a moment.
Not there. Go 2 Samuel 11, 1 through 4. Let's read that first.
Let's get the ungodly soul part of the marriage.
Oh yeah. Bring it out.
Okay?
2 Samuel chapter 11. Verses 1 through 4. Read.
2 Samuel chapter 11 verse 1. And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when
No, wait.
Go to chapter 12. I'm sorry. Wait.
Hold on a minute. No, okay, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. 2 Samuel 11 and 1. Read to 4. All right, read.
2 Samuel chapter 11 verse 1. And it came to pass, after the year was expired, at the time when kings go forth to battle, that David sent Joab and his servants with him, children of Ammon, and besieged Reba. But David tarried still at Jerusalem.
Verse 2.
And it came to pass in the evening tide that David arose from off his bed and walked upon the roof of the king's house. And from the roof he saw a woman washing herself. And the woman was very beautiful to look upon.
Alright, so that's where David got his demonic soul tie with Bathsheba.
Yeah.
Right? He's walking, instead of him being out there with the men, he's walking on the rooftop, and he's a peeping Tom, and he sees Bathsheba bathing. Verse 3, lust.
Verse 3. And David sent and inquired after the woman. And one said, is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite?
Right? Verse 4.
And David sent messengers and took her, and she came in unto him, and he lay with her, for she was purified from her uncleanness, and she returned unto her house.
Alright, so we know the story that David and Bathsheba had conceived a child, and that child was taken by the Most High. So then, after that ungodly soul tie, the losing of their child made them change their ways, and they went to now having a godly soul tie. We're going to go to 2 Samuel chapter 12, and we're going to read one verse 24. Read.
2 Samuel chapter 12, verse 24. And David comforted Bathsheba his wife, and went in unto her, and lay with her, and she bare a son, and he called his name Solomon, and the Lord loved him.
So the ungodly soul tie between David and Bathsheba caused the death of their son, but David went through prayer, he went through fasting, and eventually he and Bathsheba came together, and Solomon came about. Now, how do you break a soul tie? If any sin were committed that caused the soul tie to happen, you have to repent against the soul tie.
That's right.
Fornication is the most common way that soul ties happen. If any gifts were given in the relationship, those gifts must be renounced, and you must get rid of those gifts immediately to destroy the connection between the two. Right? And we're going to go, when we go to Ezekiel, we'll see about gifts. The gifts hold that connection in place with that soul tie. So the gifts have to be broken. Get rid of any item, flowers, cards, letters,
Jewelry,
underwear, clothes, jewelry. You get rid of any items that person gave you, because that's a holder of the soul tie. Don't just throw it out.
don't give it to
Either
nobody.
break it or burn it. One of the two. Any rash vows or commitments, you denounce those rash vows and commitments. If you ever told anybody, I'll love you forever, that's a vow and that's a commitment.
Yes, it
And you have to denounce that vow and you have to denounce that commitment in the name of Yeshua. If you ever told anybody, I could never live without you,
is. Oh, yeah.
you are to break that vow. That's a vow that you made. That's a commitment that you made to that person.
Well, let's just say you're not with that person.
Correct.
And that person is not your husband or your wife. So you were dating someone and you told them, you're my heart, I love you this and that, I love you forever. But you break up with that person and then you go and you marry somebody else.
Correct,
You must go back and break that, like Shepherd was saying, you gotta renounce it.
correct. Proverbs 21. So, any spoken commitment needs to be undone verbally. So if you ever told anybody, I'll love you forever, I love you, and you're not with that person now, that is a soul tie that you created. That is a bond that you have created.
You bound yourself.
And you must break it. You must renounce it.
You wonder why you with a man or your husband or your wife now, and things are not working out. It's because you have bound yourself to that person that you was with before you actually. So if you're in the Most High, you're in His truth, and the Most High have given you a wife or a husband. That person you was with previously, you must unbound yourself from that person, because the relationship with your spouse that you're with is not gonna work.
You got to unbound it.
You have to.
If you said anything, and this is how you know you have a demonic soul tie. If it's been years that you have you've not been around this person for years, and you constantly have thoughts of the person, that is an ungodly soul tie.
All praises,
You constantly are having thoughts, so you're thinking about this person.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how you're thinking about them, you're just thinking about them. You think of what would happen if I was with them, or what would happen if I was. That is a demonic soul tie. The demons got you, and that needs to be broken in the name of Yeshua.
If you thought you were gonna be a family with that person,
Right.
no, we're gonna be together forever. We're gonna be a family.
That's another vow, being together forever.
And we're gonna be a family. And then the Most High have moved you on and have given you a wife or a husband that He have chose for you, and you're having issues with that person. It's because you have bound yourself to that previous person.
Correct.
You gotta ask Yeshua to forgive you first of all.
Oh, we got that coming up.
Oh, okay.
We got that. Proverbs 21.
Now this is
23.
a godly soul tie. You can see, because we're on one accord with Yeshua. We had an ungodly soul tie for 22 years. All that was broken.
Right.
But now we have a godly soul tie. One accord with Yeshua.
Proverbs 21:23. Read.
Proverbs chapter 21, verse 23. Whoso keepeth his mouth and his tongue keepeth his soul from trouble.
See that? The Bible is saying if you want to keep that soul tie in, if you don't want to release that soul tie is going to get you troubles. Here comes the demonic demons to sex you at night. Because you got thoughts of Janet from 2 years or 3 years or 10 years ago. You can't get that out of your mind. You have thoughts of Richard from 20 years ago.
30 years ago.
And you can't get them thoughts out of your mind. But those demons are coming to you.
Yeah.
Okay? You have to forgive the person. If you have anything against them, you have to renounce the spirit in the name of Yeshua.
Yeah.
You have to forgive that person. To break that demonic soul tie.
That's right. The command is to leave you.
3 John. John 1 and 2.
Oh, praise to the Most High. Thank you, Mother. People getting set free over here. If you all on the internet or you on live stream, we pray y'all getting set free.
Right. 3 John 1 and 2. Read.
3 John, verse 1. The elder unto the well-beloved Gaius, whom I love in the truth. Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth.
Even as thy soul prosper. Symptoms of ungodly soul ties, right? An ungodly soul tie used by the devil
to hold a person hostage. That's one of the symptoms of a person who has a ungodly soul tie. Do you suffer
From a broken heart and you cannot forgive that person.
That's also another symptom of an ungodly soul tie. An ungodly soul tie is
Formed from sex outside of the marriage. An ungodly soul tie has one heart and it gets tangled up and it's hard to break loose.
Oh, yeah.
right? Ungodly soul ties are invisible ropes or cords that connect you to that person.
Yep.
And you're bound to that person. Right?
Like this picture, they're bound together. But they're bound together with ropes.
That's what an ungodly soul tie does to a person. You continue to have feelings for a person 10, 20, 30 years later, just like it was yesterday. You feel the breakup, or you feel the lust, or you feel the hatred, just like it was yesterday, right? Remember this movie?
What's that? Oh, single white female. Oh, we were talking about that.
Remember that movie, Single White Female?
Yep.
They never had sex. But that is a demonic soul tie. She had a demonic soul tie where she had sex with her roommate.
She wore her clothes.
She even cut her hair like the young lady.
She had sex with her the roommate's boyfriend.
Yeah, roommate's boyfriend.
Yeah. But she wanted to be her so bad.
This movie is
Franco and all.
this movie, once again, this is a demonic soul tie in Hollywood, yes.
Can a soul tie be like one way?
I didn't hear you.
Yes, and the soul tie be one way.
What,
This one was
what
one
do you
way.
mean? One way how?
Like one person.
Like
Oh,
one
yeah,
person?
most definitely.
Okay.
In this case, it was the one on the, right here.
It was her.
No, it was this one right here. She had the
Yeah, it was
ungodly
her.
soul tie. She wanted to be the other girl.
Right, it was her.
Yeah,
She had the ungodly soul tie to her.
yeah. It could be one
They
way.
weren't lesbians,
No.
but she
Admired her, and she wanted to be like her, to the point where she wanted to be her. Right?
Had sex with her boyfriend, cut her hair, dyed her hair like her, like everything.
correct. So you gotta break these ungodly soul ties, and you have to take responsibility for these soul ties.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever relationship you're in, you have to take responsibility of that relationship from that soul tie. You have to recognize that you have a soul tie. If you're thinking about Billy and what he did 20 years ago, just like
It was yesterday, you have to recognize it and you have to repent from it. You have to renounce any claim of the soul tie whatsoever.
you must
Cut the cords of the soul tie. You got to, if anything was given
given to you by that person, you gotta get rid of it.
whether, and I keep saying this over and over again, you got to get rid of
It
it.
doesn't matter how much it costs or anything. You must get rid of it. You must go through your home and you must search. In fact, you must search your camp, search your home,
Right.
and tear it up. Don't give it to nobody else because you're going to cause somebody else to sin.
Correct.
And how do we know this? Because in the Bible, was it Peter or was it Paul prayed over a cloth and send it to
Paul.
for them to get healed? So we know spirits can operate in clothing, different jewelry and things like that.
Correct.
So you must break it, tear it up, burn it, whatever you have to do. Do not give it to anyone else. Do not pass it on.
Correct. And you have to renew your relationship with your shine.
That's right.
Okay? You have to detoxify from that relationship. We're going to go Job 6 and 7.
All right now. Thank you, Mother. You know, for people here and people on live stream, Mother had us to go back because this was something we haven't taught in a while. So mother had us to go back to start over from the beginning to teach all this.
The last few weeks have been teachings that we have done before.
A little different though, but we've done these before. But they're needed because we need to get right or else people are gonna burn in hell.
Job 6 and 7, read.
Job chapter 6 verse 7. The things that my soul refused to touch are as my sorrowful meat.
Right? Alright, so soul ties, you deal with emotions. Right? So we're gonna go over the Psalms 35 and 9. Psalms 35 and 9. Okay? Alright, let's read.
Psalms chapter 35 verse 9. And my soul shall be joyful in the Lord. It shall rejoice in his salvation.
Right? So soul ties are emotions. Let's see more of that. We're going to go to
Isaiah 61 and 10.
Come against all soul ties.
Okay? Isaiah 61 and 10.
Soul ties.
Huh? All right, let's read.
Isaiah chapter 61 verse 10. I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My soul shall be joyful in my power. For he has clothed me with the garments of salvation. He has covered me with the robe of righteousness, as a bridegroom decketh himself with ornaments, and as a bride adorneth herself with her jewels.
Excuse me. That's right. Okay?
Let's go to Wisdom of Solomon.
4 and 11.
After Wisdom of Solomon 4:11, 2nd Ezra 15 and 8.
All right, let's read.
Wisdom of Solomon chapter 4 verse 11. Yea, speedily was he taken away, lest that wickedness should alter his understanding, or deceit beguile his tongue.
And that's what happens when these spirits, when these soul ties are operating. The wickedness alter your understanding. All you think that you have some type of emotion with this person when the demons are altering your understanding. And then deceit beguiles your soul. Okay? Let's go. 2nd Ezra 15 and 8. Now, let's understand something. Demonic soul ties are not demons. They're not demons. They can't be demons because it's a soul tie. It's the feeling. But demonic soul ties open the door for demons. The demonic soul tie is not the demon. That's not what you get delivered from. You don't get delivered from demonic soul tie. You get delivered from demons.
And once the demons are gone,
the soul tie should be gone also. 2nd Ezra 15:8. Read.
2nd Ezra chapter 15 verse 8. I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness.
That's demons. I will no longer, remember the prayer that we had earlier. That's the prayer that you use because you will no longer allow the demons to come at you at night and rape you. And you creating demonic soul ties with demons. Touching their wickedness. Continue.
Which they profanely commit.
They profanely commit. Come on.
Neither will I suffer them in those things, in which they wickedly exercise themselves.
They wickedly exercise themselves. Keep going.
Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually.
Complain continually, right? Demonic soul ties are
The door openers for demons.
soul ties are not demons. They're not. You don't get delivered from a soul tie. You get delivered from demons that cause the soul tie.
So you have to, reject, denounce, or,
You reject, denounce the soul ties, thus you reject and denounce the demon. You don't say, soul tie, come out of me. No. No. Because the demon will say, okay,
and you must repent.
Where's the soul? Okay, soul tie, you want, where's the soul tie? Come out.
You must
I wasn't told to come out.
Yeah.
I wasn't told to come out.
They're saying, soul tie, come out, but I can stay.
You must repent as well, because at some point you had to put this person before the Most High.
Mm-hmm.
So this person had to be your idol or worshiper or some. You had to look for this person to be some type of savior of something. And we all know that you cannot receive there's no place in the kingdom if you put anything before the Most High.
Correct.
So you must tell Father you're sorry and repent for putting something or some person before Him.
Mm-hmm.
1 Corinthians 5. Let's read.
1 Corinthians chapter 5 verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote unto you an epistle not to company with fornicators.
Not to company with fornicators.
Right? Whether it's demonic or physical, you're not supposed to do it. Next verse.
Verse 10. Yet not altogether with the fornicators of this world, or with the covetous, or extortioners, or with idolaters. For then must ye needs go out of the world.
Needs go out of the world. Let's get back to the Apocrypha and go to 2 Ezra 6 and 3.
Oh, bring it out. Thank you, Mother.
2 Ezra 6 and 3.
Okay, let's read.
2 Ezra chapter 6 verse 3. Before the fair flowers were seen, or ever the movable powers were established, before the innumerable multitude of angels were gathered together.
Right. Before all this happened, you have to break up in 4 steps. You got to acknowledge, confess and repent, forgive. You have to break, renounce, remove.
All night I've been saying
We're going to see one chapter
where Father not only goes through the sexual sins, but from the sexual sins he talks about
soul ties. He talks about how if you continue to allow those soul ties and that sexual sin to happen, what's going to happen to you?
Let's go. Ezekiel the 16th chapter.
Let's see what Ezekiel 16 really is about. Let's see what Ezekiel 16
Is saying to us. Now understand something. Ezekiel 16
is the longest chapter in the book of Ezekiel. 64 verses. So because it has 64, 65 verses in it, the others only has 20 to 30. There's a reason why Ezekiel 16 is set up the way it is. Remember all of the scriptures that led with fornication, lewdness, the scriptures that led with sexual sin. Let's get an understanding of
Ezekiel the 16th chapter, and you'll understand why Father detests sexual sin. Father hates adultery.
Father hates fornication.
We're going to see this. Let's go Ezekiel 16, start at verse 1.
Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 1. Again, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, cause Jerusalem to know her abomination.
So we need to figure out what's Jerusalem in this instance. And what are the abominations? Verse 3.
And say, Thus saith the Lord power unto Jerusalem,
Mm-hmm.
Thy birth and thy nativity is of the land of Canaan. Thy father was an Amorite, and thy mother an Hittite.
So we need to figure out what is the nativity of the land of Canaan. What does that mean? We have to figure out what is the father of the Amorite. Why did he say that? Why did he say mother and Hittite? Why? We have to ask these questions. There are going to be huge answers afterwards. Verse 4.
And as for thy nativity,
Yes.
in the day thou was born, thy navel was not cut.
Why does it say the navel was not cut? Keep going.
Neither was thou washed in water to supple thee.
Why? What is the washing of the water? We had a scripture much earlier where it talked about washing of water. Keep going.
Thou was not salted.
Thou was not salted. What does salt have to do with this? We're going to figure that one out. Keep going.
Nor swaddled at all.
Nor swaddled at all. So let's break this down before we continue on in Ezekiel 16. Jerusalem is peace, or the city of peace. The birth and nativity is Canaan merchants, or this was a strange land. Canaan was a strange land, and Canaan now became the promised land. Right? So we got Jerusalem, the city of peace. We have Canaan, which was a strange land. Now it became the promised land. The Amorites were known for their wickedness. So your father, the Amorite, was wicked. The Hittite was known for their terror that they brought forth. Cruelty. So your mother was terrible and was cruel. The navel was not cut. That is the ungodly soul tie. Right? It says the navel was not cut. If a navel is not cut, then you still have that attachment to the father of wickedness and the mother of cruelty. Right? So this is a soul tie that's being formed. The child was not washed, meaning that the child had a complaint about himself. Right? The infant was salted. Salt was used to purify and protect the skin. So if the salt is not done, then the child is not protected. Okay? Now, maybe you weren't protected from the environment that you grew up in, or maybe you were a sponge for ungodly soul ties. Right? Read verse 6. I'm sorry, verse 5.
Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 5. None I pity thee.
No one pitied you. Keep going.
To do any of these unto thee, to have compassion upon thee.
You got to speak it up, because the scriptures need to be brought out. Read.
But thou wast cast out in the open field, to the loathing of thy person.
To the loathing of thy person. Keep going.
In the day that thou was born.
So the scripture is saying that no one gave pity about you, no one cared about you. Cast you out in the open field means to be left alone. And being left alone is a door opener for rejection when the soul tie comes.
That's right.
There's more. Read verse 6.
Verse 6. And when I passed by thee, and saw thee polluted in thine own blood, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live. Yea, I said unto thee, when thou wast in thy blood, live.
Alright, so the polluted in the own blood, when that means you're contaminated because you have a soul tie. You're angrily, you're an outcast. You're dealing with stuff mentally, you're physically dying. Right? These ungodly soul ties, marriage, relationship, brother relationships, all of these are ungodly soul ties.
Read verse 7.
I have caused thee to multiply as the bud of the field, and thou hast increased and waxen great, and thou art come to excellent ornament. Thy breasts are fashioned, and thine hair is grown.
That's
Where-
Ezekiel 16:7.
You have verse 8 up there.
Oh, read verse 8.
Verse 8. Now, when I passed by thee and looked upon thee, behold, thy time was at the time of
Who
love.
is that?
Who is that? Who is that? That's Yeshaya. Right? Go ahead.
And I spread my skirt over thee,
Mm-hmm.
and covered thy nakedness. Yea, I swear unto thee, and entered into a covenant with thee,
Mm-hmm.
saith the Lord power, and thou becamest
Alright,
mine.
so this is Yeshaya now. He sees that you got this soul tie going on. And now, Yeshaya, you're going through deliverance. Right? Read verse 9 and 10.
Verse 9. Then wash I thee with water.
Remember, when you were born, you were not washed with water. Right? You were born into sin. So now Yeshaya is taking you out of that soul tie, trying to break that soul tie off of you, and now he's washing you with water per him. Keep going.
Yea, I thoroughly washed away thy blood from thee, and I anointed thee with oil.
And what else he's going to do? Verse 10.
I clothed thee also with broidered work,
Yes.
and shod thee with badger skin.
Yes.
And I girded thee about with fine linen, and I covered thee with silk.
Verse 11.
I decked thee also with ornaments, and I put bracelets upon thy hands, and a chain on thy neck.
12.
And I put a jewel on thy forehead, and earrings in thine ears, and a beautiful crown upon thy head.
So after you were born into with the mother of the Hittite and the father of the Amorite, and you were born into this, and that demonic soul tie came in, Yeshaya delivered. He set you free. You went through deliverance. You repented. You felt good about yourself. You started to operate in the spirit. But what happened? What happened? I'm going to show you what happened. Get down to 14 and read 14. Let's go there. 14 and 15.
Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 14.
Yes.
And thy renown went forth among the heathen for thy beauty, for it was perfect through my comeliness, which I had put upon thee, saith the Lord power.
You were put perfect. You went through deliverance. You were perfect. Verse 15.
Verse 15. But thou didst trust in thine own beauty,
You lean to your own understanding. Read.
and playedst the harlot because of thy renown,
You played the harlot. Come on.
and pouredst out thy fornications on every one that passed by.
Put your fornication. Throw your stuff out there to every single demon that came by. Read.
His it was.
His it was. Skip down to verse 22. Right? And let's read 22 and 23.
Verse 22.
Go ahead.
And in all thine abominations and thy whoredoms, thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth,
Yes.
when thou wast naked and bare, and was polluted in thy blood.
Mm-hmm.
And it came to pass after all thy wickedness,
Yes.
woe, woe unto thee, saith the Lord power.
Yeshaya saying, woe unto you. Right? Because you were delivered. You were born into that sin. You had them ungodly soul ties. He thought to cleanse you up, which he did. He cleansed you up. But you went back into the horror. You went back into doing your sin. You went back into doing it. So now he's very upset. Skip down to verse 32. And let's read what else he says.
Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 32.
Go ahead.
But as a wife that committeth adultery,
Read. Come on.
which taketh strangers instead of her husband,
You took strangers. You took on all those demons instead of Yeshaya. Verse 33.
They give gifts to all whores.
They do what?
Give gifts to all
They
whores.
do what?
Give gifts to all whores.
That's why you have to renounce the
Gifts that were given to you, but they give gifts to all whores. The demons, they continue to give you gifts. Keep going.
But thou givest thy gifts to all thy lovers,
Yes?
and hirest them,
Come on.
that they may come unto thee on every side for thy whoredom.
The whoredom. Verse 334.
And the contrary is in thee from other women in thy whoredom.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas none followeth thee to commit whoredoms, and in that thou givest a reward, and no reward is given unto thee, therefore thou art contrary.
You're contrary to the word now.
Because you continue.
Continue to deal with these whore demons. You continue to deal with these lust spirits. You do not get yourself set free. You were set free in the initial beginning.
You were set free. You got baptized by the water.
When you came out of that water, you were set free. That's the washing of the water. You were set free when you went through deliverance. That's the washing of the water. But you went back and played the harlot. Just like your mama, the Hittite, and just like your daddy, the Amorite. You went back to the harlot. You went back to the old ungodly soul tie.
All right.
Skip down to verse 42. Read verse 42 to 43.
Ezekiel chapter 16 verse 42.
Read what Yeshua is going to do.
32.
So
42.
Oh, 42.
Read.
So will I make my fury toward thee to rest,
Uh-huh.
and my jealousy shall depart from thee,
Uh-huh.
and I will be quiet, and will be no more angry,
Go ahead.
because thou hast not remembered the days of thy youth,
You have not remembered what he did to
Say, he set you free. You don't remember that.
keep going.
but hast fretted me in all these things.
Yeshua is saying, you fret me in all these things.
That means you
Are constantly getting on his nerves. Read.
Behold, therefore I also will recompense thy way upon thine
He's
head,
going to pay you back. Come on.
saith the Lord our power.
Read.
And thou shalt not commit this lewdness above all thine
You
abominations.
shall not commit this lewdness
above all these abominations.
Oh, it gets better. Skip down to verse 49. And we're going to read 49 to 50. Like I said, read Ezekiel. We're just skimming through the chapter because it's 63 verses. But read this chapter on your own time. Read.
Verse 49. Behold, this was the iniquity of thy sister, Sodom.
You are in the same company as Sodom. You allow these soul ties and these demonic spirits to overtake you. You're just like Sodom. Read.
Pride, fullness of bread, and abundance of idleness was in her and in her daughters. Neither did she strengthen the hand of the poor and needy.
Come on.
And they were haughty, and committed abominations before me.
Yes.
Therefore I took them away as I saw good.
I took them away as I saw good. You get removed. 51.
Neither hath Samaria committed half of thy sins.
Samaria has committed half the sins that you have. Read.
But thou hast multiplied thine abominations
Yes.
more than they,
Yes.
and hast justified thy sisters in all thine abominations which thou hast done.
Keep going.
Thou also, which hast judged thy sisters, bear thine own shame for
Yeah.
thy sins,
Uh-huh.
that thou hast committed more abominable than they.
Listen to this.
They are more righteous than thou.
They are more righteous than you. So we want to sit up there and talk about Sodom. We want to sit up there and talk about Samaria. But Yeshua is saying that the people of Sodom are more righteous than you.
Woo!
Come on.
All right.
Yea, be thou confounded also, and bear thy shame, and that thou hast justified thy sisters.
Keep going.
Verse 53, when I shall bring again their captivity, the captivity of Sodom and her daughters, and the captivity of Samaria and her daughters, Then will I bring again the captivity of thy captives in the midst of them.
Skip down to 56.
Verse 56, for thy sister Sodom was not mentioned by thy mouth in the day of thy pride,
Keep going.
before thy wickedness was discovered, as at the time of thy reproach of the daughters of Syria, and all that are round about her, the daughters of the Philistines which despise thee round about.
Verse 58.
Thou hast borne thy lewdness and thine abomination, saith the Lord.
And there you go. Read Ezekiel 16 on your own. We skipped through some things in there, right? But it gives us a message. And that message is once you have these ties and once you get delivered, you go back into that sin, he's not going to be pleased. Imagine that. You're being called worse than the people of Sodom. And what did he do with the people of Sodom? He replicated the lake of fire with them.
Yes, he did. You don't want to mess with him.
He replicated the lake of fire with Sodom, but yes, he's saying that Sodom is righteous, more righteous than you are. What does that mean? That means you to everlasting torments and damnation if you don't change your wicked and evil ways and repent of your nasty and perverted sins.
That perverted mind. Yep.
Malachi 6. Malachi 4 and 6. Malachi 4 and 6. We have a couple more scriptures and then we're done for the night. Or we're done for this morning.
Malachi 4:6, read.
Malachi chapter 4 verse 6. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse.
Alright, that's ungodly soul tie.
Let's go 1 Samuel 18.
Let's end this with a positive. Even though everything about this is positive. 1 Samuel 18, 1 through 3.
1 Samuel chapter 18 verse 1.
Read.
And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the son of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David. And Jonathan loved him as his own soul.
This is a godly soul tie between David and Jonathan. Next verse.
And Saul took him that day, and will let him go no more home to his father's house.
Yes.
Then Jonathan and David made a covenant, because he loved him as his own soul.
Right? These are people who are held in with demonic soul ties. They keep you bound.
You think of a person
And you think that you are in love with a person. You commit all these bad vows to a person. You make commitments to a person. And you are tied because you think about this person day and night. Last scripture, 2 Ezra 3:5. You think about this person day and night. And this person
that you're thinking about probably doesn't even know you exist. But you still are thinking about this person. The demons know it. And that's a door opener for all kinds of lust spirits to come at you at night.
All kinds of spirits.
2 Ezra 3:5, read.
2 Ezra chapter 3 verse 5. And gavest a body unto Adam without soul, which was the workmanship of thine hand, and didst breathe into him the breath of life, and he was made living before thee.
He was made living before thee. This is what you need to tie to.
There you go.
With Yeshua right there in the middle. That hand is the hand of Yeshua.
Can't go wrong. Can't go wrong.
next Friday, demonic
spouse. All right. So now we see why Satan was trying to stop this from going out. Well, we give all the glory, and I'm sorry, my voice is a little scratchy right now. We give all the glory and all the praise to the Most High and Higher. We give all the glory and praise to Yeshua and the Holy Spirit, sweet mother, whom at 1 or 2 something this morning woke me up with Ezekiel 16. I give Mother all the glory and praise for that. We're going to open it up for questions. If we have any questions or comments, either on the chat, I want to thank you all for being and sticking with us, or any questions or comments or from here. No? All right. I pray we get an understanding get some kind of wisdom. Because whatever spirits, whatever happened this evening, you would not inherit the kingdom if you were to keep that. You weren't inheriting the kingdom. In fact, you may not make it to the wilderness. Understand that when these demons come at night, you got to renounce them things. You have to renounce not only the demon, but you have to renounce the works of the demon.
Because when we're praying deliverance, we say we bind up the spirit in the name of Yeshua, and we tell it to leave. That you have no power. We bind your power. So whatever that spirit is doing and whatever they bring with it, we bind it up. We bind all of it up.
Right.
And tell it has no authority.
So our live stream tomorrow will start at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to start at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And that's going to go until the fall. We always do it for the summer. We always start later. We're going to start at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with our praise and worship. So nothing else in the chat?
No questions, no comments.
All right. So I pray this was educational, inspirational, and I pray you got set free. We give all the glory and praise to the Most High for allowing this to happen.
If you found this teaching educational and liked it, please subscribe and hit the notification bell for future teachings.
All right, we still need that 1,000.
Well, maybe we don't need the 1,000 subscribers no more.
Still subscribe to the channel.
Yeah.
All right, Kwame Asherala.
Kwame Asherala.